to the 35th gathering of the Adventure Party on this, the 27th of December. I'm your party leader, Brad Ludwig. We ask that you peace tie your swords, holster your blasters, and make sure you have your video flashback montage ready to go while you are gathered at the meeting table. And we try to have these things match up with the topic we're talking about. There have been a couple of episodes where I just said, insert something funny here. And sometimes it's hard to come up with something good that fits in there that's kind of interesting or funny or weird or whatever. But we give it a try.
You do a pretty good job, Brad.
I do all right. That voice that you just heard is our second in command here at the Adventure Party, and his name is Glenn Bittner. And he is a movie reviewer on the YouTube show The B-Movie Bunker and the creator of the RPG Mistrunner. How are you?
Holiday season's done.
Huzzah!
Mostly. I got 4 days left, then I get a 4-day weekend. Huzzah!
Oh, that's... Yeah, I forgot how hellacious this time of year can be for folks that work in retail. And I always try to do my best to be as nice as possible. Not fake nice, but as nice as possible, because folks that... And I remember working in retail, sometimes you get the shit end of the stick because people just aren't nice and they're in a rush, and that doesn't excuse their terrible behavior. And you just got to take your lumps, and that's just, it sucks.
Yep.
But I love you, Glenn.
Well, thank you, Brad.
And I must love you because we've done 30, well, this was our 35th episode, and you've put up with me. And we decided that this is the last of the year. It's the 27th at the time that we are recording this. And we decided to do kind of a retrospective of the top viewed on YouTube and the top listened to episodes in whatever podcast catcher that you are using, Stitcher, iTunes, Podcast Land, whatever. It's not an entirely apples to apples comparison because at the time of this recording, we're still about 9 episodes behind. I have made a valiant effort to try to get up an episode a day. I missed a couple of days with Christmas going on. That's kind of understandable. But we're almost caught up. So, but that said, we're going to go with the information that we have at this point in time, and we want to talk a little bit about what those episodes are, and they're in some cases very different from YouTube and from the podcast catchers. So I think we're gonna talk about those, what happened in those episodes, and then maybe try to figure out what was so appealing about them. So there you go. It's a little self-serving, but you know, what the heck? It's the end of the year and we can do what we want to. So we're going to start now with your review, Glenn. What do you have for us this week?
You start with me. That's like how we always do it. I have a game that, first of all, where it came from surprised the heck out of me. This game is called Evolution. It is from North Star Games. And North Star Games, up until this point, had done party games for the most part. And good party games, too. I mean, they did Wits and Wagers and Saying Things. So they have a good track record of that. But Evolution is nothing at all like that. In Evolution, you are basically, every player starts with a species. And your species is pretty blank. You have a little card that has little holes in it, and you put little wood cubes to signify what your population is and how big you are. And that's it. And then at the start, you get a hand of cards. They're going to let you upgrade your species. You can simply discard some of these cards to make your species have a higher population or a larger size, or you can use them to give you different advantages. You might have something like a hard shell, which makes you harder for carnivores to attack. You might get a long neck, so you can grab food before other players can from the watering hole. You might take burrowing, so you can hide underground after you've eaten, so the carnivores can't come get you. Or you can evolve to become a carnivore as well, at which point you no longer eat food from the watering hole, you eat other players. It's a really cool game because there's so many different varieties of things you can upgrade. And there's a lot of them, too, that operate with different, basically like a symbiosis, based on where you have, because you can also have more than one species as the game progresses. And where you place them in front of you is important because you have some upgrades, like perhaps you'll have a warning call, which would mean that any species to the right or left of this one guy can't be attacked by a carnivore because the warning call will scare them away. Or you might have something where one of them is is symbiotic with someone else and like rides on them, so that way they're also protected or they're considered a larger size because carnivores can only eat things that they're bigger than. It's just a great way of being able to adapt your different species. And you can be eaten and lose your species and have nothing in front of you, at which point you get a new species on the next turn, along with some bonus upgrade cards to make you so that you're not going to fall way behind. And the food you eat is actually the points. So the more food you eat during the game, the more points you get. And the way to eat more food is to be bigger, because the bigger you are, or sorry, population, the higher your population, the more you're going to eat. However, if there's not enough food to go around, your population will go down because you starve to death. Which happens not so much in the beginning of the game because there's tons of food to go around, but as the game progresses, there's less and less food reaching that center watering hole. It's just a really cool game that came out of somewhere I did not expect it. And I spoke with some of the guys from North Star. One of the guys I work with actually is friends with one of the guys who works at North Star, and it was kind of this is the type of game that they actually like. And they're finally at a position now with the success of like Wits and Wagers that they can devote resources to making the type of games that they themselves also really want to play, the games they really love. And this one is just an absolute blast. It's just such a cool thing to have all this variety. I have played numerous times, and the first time I played, I thought, well, man, nothing can beat the carnivore. Once someone becomes a carnivore, they just wreck face on everyone. But then I played the next game, and the carnivores kept having the problem where if there's nothing for you to eat as a carnivore, I like this aspect. You have to eat something if you can.
Ooh.
And that means that if the only species left to eat is one of your own species, you'll eat one of your own species.
Ouch.
So you have to really be careful playing the carnivore because if you make yourself just too big too fast, well, now all of a sudden everyone else is burrowing or they're hiding up in trees, and now you don't have climbing because you only have so many upgrades. Once you reach that max, in order to get a new one, you have to discard something. So, it's like at one point, you may have been able to get around something, because you have pack hunting, which makes you essentially bigger than you actually are. But now it's like, well, now I need to get climbing because all these jerks are up in trees. Or I need to get something else because now this guy's got horns and a hard shell, which makes him bigger technically than I am, because everything adds on in different ways. And it's really, really cool.
Huh. Now, this sounds familiar. Was this a Kickstarter?
I want to say maybe.
I
think
some
so.
reason
Yes,
it's
it was. It was a Kickstarter. It was a Kickstarter.
Because I think that this was a pick that you might have made for a Kickstarter.
No, it came out last year.
Oh, okay.
So it came out just towards. Well, actually, I may have brought it up for the. I bet I did because they did a second edition.
Oh, okay.
So it probably was the second edition that I brought up. When they were relaunching it, they changed up some of the artwork and they cleared up some of the cards where it was a little confusing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the art's really pretty too on this game. They have a really cool design for this game.
Yeah, right now for the YouTube viewers, you can see I've been flipping around to some of the pictures of the game from BoardGameGeek.com, and right now I am on an image of the carnivore cards that are available in the game, and yeah, they are absolutely gorgeous. They kind of remind me of some of the Magic the Gathering type artwork
Sure.
for some of the artists that do more semi-realistic art style, because this leopard, tiger, cougar thing that is the carnivore looks pretty badass. So yeah, man.
And something you'll like, Brad, plays in about 50 to 70 minutes.
Oh,
And that's
yeah.
actually pretty accurate. Obviously, of course, the first time's going to take you a lot longer
Sure.
as you're trying to figure out what everyone's guys can do. It's like, wait a minute, you're climbing, pack hunting, horned what? I don't and it runs 2 to 6 players, so you can get a good number of people in there. I'm not a huge fan of the 2-player version. Just because if one person does get out to a bit of a lead, it's hard to catch up.
Sure.
When you have more players, there's more things to worry about. So you can't just focus on, I have to worry about what is Brad doing, and that's it. Well, now it's more games. I have to worry, what's Brad doing? What's Anessa doing? What's Dan doing? I have to pay attention to everybody. And it's a lot to keep track of at times, because now all of a sudden you're going, all right, I'm fine. I'm bigger than him. And all of a sudden this person over here comes over and starts eating you because, like, wait a minute, where'd you come from? I thought you were a burrowing long neck guy. Now all of a sudden you're a carnivore. What? Because, your little herbivore at any time can become a carnivore.
Sure. Yep.
So, which can be very annoying when someone has a giant herbivore that no one can eat, and then all of a sudden he goes, I'm bigger than everybody. I think I'll become a carnivore. And then he eats and eats and eats, and your population goes down and down and down.
Yeah. Oof. Wow.
And I haven't been able to try it yet, but they recently had a expansion come out called Flight, because nothing could fly in the first one. The best you could do was climb up a tree. And I guess they're also coming with another one called Climate. It'll be coming out this coming year. So climate changes will really throw things off a bit, because the climate will modify, like, the food supply, and it'll also give you special traits that'll help you adapt to different climates and stuff like that. So there's definitely got some cool expansions already out and in the works.
Nice. Yeah, this looks like a really cool game.
Yeah, I really, really dig it.
And about how much does it retail for?
General MSRP is about $55 to $60.
Okay, so still within that range of what we've talked about for good quality printed games of this sort, box games. So very cool. So 10 and up. So it's definitely a good family type game if your kids are a little bit older.
Yeah, absolutely.
And go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just noticing here that they cleaned up in some awards here for the Golden Geek Awards from 2014. So
yeah, they got a couple good nominations. They got like best artwork, I think, best presentation. So yeah, I mean,
yep, very, very nice. All right, thank you very much, Glenn.
Absolutely.
All right. Say, Glenn, did you know that you can join the Galactic Collective?
I kind of knew that because I think I'm in the Galactic Collective.
You are. I was just trying to make conversation and failing miserably at it. So what is the Galactic Collective? Basically, it's getting a membership to be a part of a category of listeners who have access to some extra content that we're starting to offer. Basically, we're using Patreon as a way to help fund and expand portions of the Galactic Netcasts network. And we are currently about to upgrade our audio podcasting to a better system that doesn't throttle listeners. So that'll definitely help there. And every quarter, we're going to invite our Galactic Collective folks to a quarterly live hangout and talk about the shows, talk about what they like, and kind of roundtable some ideas for the next quarter. And you'll be able to ask questions, and you'll be the first to hear about possible changes coming to the network. And the way you join the Galactic Collective is just pledge a monthly amount, whether it's $1 or whatever, and that'll help go towards web hosting and, like I said before, upgrading our audio and possibly advertising with some other podcasts that we enjoy. Trying to think, there's some stuff from Frog Pants Studios that is really wonderful to listen to, and we wouldn't mind getting some advertising on there to help grow the network a little bit. So anything that you can do to help out would be greatly appreciated, and then you too can be a part of the Galactic Collective. All right, we're going to talk about something in the news that caught my eye. Weird Games releases Penny Dreadful one-shot called The Ferryman. Boy, this is kind of flowery.
That happens with Weird.
All right. I can't. I'm not going to read that. That's terrible. I am not pleased with that copy. So we're going to do this. Oh, that's even worse. All right, you're just going to have to suffer through what I think is kind of flowery. All right, the holiday season is a good time together with friends and loved ones you might not see all that often. If your friends and loved ones are into gaming, it could be a good time to get a quick RPG session in. But since you don't see each other very often, you probably don't want to get a whole campaign going. Hence, the one-shot adventure. You get together, play through, and that's that. Wet it and forget it. All right. Of course, if you are a part of a long-running campaign, you can throw them in as well from time to time. Weird Games has just released The Ferryman, a new Penny Dreadful one-shot adventure for the Through the Breach RPG. What happens when a river that was already sort of a treacherous place to end up gets even more treacherous? Well, you send in some adventurers to see what's going on, of course. Sailors are disappearing along Malifaux's river, and you've got to figure out what's going on. Of course, doing it out of the kindness of your heart isn't really what the Malifaux world is all about. No, a sizable bounty has been placed on the head of whatever is doing this haunting. Get in there and get it before somebody else does. So, Through the Breach RPG is a Paizo product.
No.
Uh-huh. You need the Through the Breach RPG, the Faded Almanac.
That should be from Weird Games.
Oh, no, you can purchase it through Paizo. Oh,
yeah.
Those sneaky bastards.
Yeah, that's all weird. It's the same guys who make the Malifaux Minis game. This is the role-playing game based off of the miniature game.
Oh, well, there you go. Huh. Okay, and that retails at $36. So that and Through the Breach, which is only available as a PDF format.
Through the Breach?
Nope. No, the Penny Dreadful one shot.
Oh, that one, yes.
Yes.
I have a different Penny Dreadful.
Ah, there you go.
So yes, this is a very popular system with some of the people I work with. And one I would play if I had more time.
So, since you have a little bit more insight on this, what can you tell me about Through the Breach?
So, I talked about Malifaux a while back, right?
Yes.
I believe, yes. And how instead of using dice, it uses cards. Well, the Through the Breach uses the same system. You're still using cards to determine all your randomized stuff. And it's based off of the same world as the Malifaux role-playing game. So it's that kind of Old West Gothic horror, kung fu, fantasy stuff. Steampunk. That's the other one I was
So
missing.
a little bit of Deadlands.
Yeah, kind of. It's there's a little bit of almost everything going on in this one. And Malifaux is like the main city where everything is set.
Okay.
And the Penny Dreadfuls, they've just started doing a couple of these. The new one shot. It's taken off of the old Penny Dreadfuls from the Victorian era. So these are just kind of played out like little stories that you can play through.
Nice. See, and that's what I really like about, and yeah, I am talking about Drive Through RPG. We always support your local shops as much as you can. But then for things like this, which are PDFs that are offered through Drive Through RPG, they can really add some fun things to what you're doing. And if you're running a long running campaign, maybe you can fit one of these in there to kind of give yourself a little bit of a mental break. Yeah, you have to do a little preparation for one shots and modules, but it's nice to have some of that load taken off of your back, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, that sounded dirty. All right. Hey, next up, we're going to talk about the Galactic Gaming News from Ryan Murphy. He's a regular contributor to Galactic Netcasts, and he covers more of the digital beat of gaming, and he's got an update for us. So take it away, Ryan. All right. Thanks for that, Ryan. Next up is our Kickstarter Spotlight. Now, last week, we did the First Contact, the X-Core tabletop RPG.
Yes.
Wow.
That was one of yours.
Huh. So it was.
It was actually 2 weeks ago.
Oh, maybe that's, I've got the memory of a goldfish, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, fuck, I don't remember talking about this at all. God, I must have been drunk that day or something. Yes, hey, it's a First Contact RPG that allows you to live out the intense adventures in a near future where humanity is visited by a hostile alien race. And it was a game offered by AKA Games. Now, they were looking to get $10,930. And at this point in time, at this recording, there's still 11 days to go, and they are at 12,342. Thus continuing our winning streak here of picking games that have met their goals. Now, I guess we can't really state that all of them have been delivered or everything's on time, but all the ones that we've picked have been fully funded. So that's pretty cool. But you have a new pick for us that is called Winterdale.
Winterdale.
That.
This is 28 millimeter.
Oh my!
Fantasy terrain. This is 3D printable terrain. So what you are getting here is basically the files to print these items out with a 3D printer, which I know not everyone has a 3D printer yet, but they are becoming more and more affordable as we go on. And there's a good chance you might know someone who has a 3D printer. I actually know a couple people now who have 3D printers. So this is kind of something that I've been waiting for some people to start doing this, because it just seems like a logical step for terrain to be able to just 3D print this stuff. And that's what these guys are doing. The company's Printable Scenery. We're looking for, well, their goal was $335. They have $11,178. 10 days to go, still with 258 backers. These guys are out of Wellington, New Zealand. The stuff looks brilliant. Now, I mean, Of course, the stuff that you see in the picture is not quite what you're going to have when you print it out, because you will need to paint it. Unless you have some magical 3D printer that prints out fully painted items. But to get in on it, I mean, and mind you, again, you have to, of course, have access to a 3D printer. But after that, I mean, it's to get the Hamlet, which is just, it's a modular cottage set. It's 14 individually sculpted modular pieces that can be arranged to create a variety of multi-level buildings and bridges. That's $10 American. You then go up to $27 American. You get the tower, which is everything from the Hamlet, plus 5 modular tower building pieces and 3 gnarly trees. At $65, you get the Citadel, everything from the previous 2 levels, plus 12 modular castle building pieces. At $75, you get the castle, which is everything from the previous levels, plus the wall extension, gatehouse, drawbridge, and that's pretty much it for the cools. I mean, for that stuff. I mean, if you want to go up to the $335 level, you can be an advertising sponsor. Or $2,000, you can be a bigger advertising sponsor. But the stuff looks really, really cool. I mean, they obviously put some good detail into this. Of course, the quality of the 3D printer you use will matter, but some really cool looking stuff. And they've got some stretch goals in here if they hit enough money. Now, mind you, that $11,170, that's in US dollars. So I'm not quite sure. They don't have the breakdown for how to reach their stretch goals in American dollars. Because they've got, let's see, stretch goals, there's a blacksmith at 20,000 New Zealand dollars. There's the mill. There's the tavern. They've got some other stuff with a staircase and cross bridges. A steampunk version of the keep. They've already unlocked the Citadel balcony. The battlement crenellations are unlocked. They've got side stairs as possibility, covered battlement. There's a whole ton of stretch goals that they have. Some unlocked already. I'm not quite sure. They have like all these different areas for stretch goals that are all. There's 3 stretch goals: 1, 2, 3, and 4, which all have some unlocked and some not unlocked.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things going on here, and the thing to note is that a New Zealand dollar is equivalent to 68 cents.
Okay.
So looking at some of the conversions here, so like when Glenn was saying pledge $40, that's $27 US.
Yeah.
So if you were going to jump in at the $75 level, which gets you the castle, the citadel, the tower, the hamlet, and the gnarly trees, they surf. No, they don't. That's only going to cost you 50. You turned Keanu on me. That's $50 US. So that's a hell of a deal. And I'm wondering, because the amount of time that it takes to design something in 3D, unless they have some kind of shortcut, I mean, it takes some time to do. So I hope that they're not selling themselves short. I mean, once you build that one file, granted, you sell it over and over and you make it up in quantity. And maybe that was their plan all along. That was their long game. But yeah, at this point, they've accumulated 16,682 New Zealand dollars. So, and their goal was $500 New Zealand dollars. That's why it sounds so weird to us. $335. $500 to me even sounds low. But again, if they're looking to price it low and make up for it in volume, I think they may have succeeded. And Glenn's 100% right. It really depends on the quality of the type of printer you get.
Yeah.
That's going to determine, how much cleanup you need to do. Basically, there is a resolution, and it also depends on the type of material that you use to actually print it as well. So There's a couple of things that you need to consider there, but quite honestly, I think this is really the way we're moving to, especially with 3D printers becoming better and cheaper.
Yep.
I think that somebody with a program like I have Poser, I could actually, take a figure, dress it up, export it, and then put it into a 3D printer and size it accordingly so it matches a 28 millimeter size, and just run with it, and you're good to go. So you can customize, have dress your character the way you want it to look and pose that character the way you want it to be posed. So personalizing your miniatures is really going to be the thing moving forward, I think. And this definitely is going to help you out, being able to print your own stuff. So, and there's ways to, depending on the type of printer you have, you can actually recycle 2-liter bottles. I've seen DIYs on Instructables for that. Somebody made a cutter that's specifically for cutting a 2-liter bottle to the exact width that it needs to be to run through the printer and use that material. So, wow, we live in the future, Glenn.
We do. Although
welcome to the future.
Car or a jetpack or something, or an actual real hoverboard. Don't lie to me and tell me these things they have now are hoverboards. They're not. They have wheels.
They have wheels. It's like they don't think we're going to notice. Those bastards. Anyway, no, that's a really great find. And if you've got access to a 3D printer, whether it's through a friend or a friend of a friend, if you've got $50 to spend, you can get yourself all sorts of fantasy-based landscape to work with for your adventures. So that's really cool. Thanks for finding that. Oh, and they're down to 10 days now. It just switched. It was at 11 days. Now it's at 10. So time's running short. Get on it. All right, we're going to jump into the discussion, and we're going to talk about the top things that that folks seem to be interested in topic-wise for 2015. Now, granted, we started the show in March, so we haven't been around that long, but it just seemed kind of a fun thing to do, to look back and see the things that really interested people that we covered over the past year. And there is a huge difference between YouTube and podcasts. I mean, the difference between video and audio. But quite honestly, you could turn on YouTube and not look at the video and still get the same thing out of it, content-wise. But we decided to go with the top 5 of both. And we are going to we're going to count them down backwards, actually. I'm going to change this up here. I'm doing this while we're doing the show. I'm an ass. So, Glenn, not to throw you off too much, but we're going to count it backwards. We're going to work our way up the list.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to start with YouTube, and we're going to start at number 5, and that was Terry Stevens and the Magic the Gathering storylines. Now, Terry Stevens is someone that I work with, and he works at the radio station, one of the rock radio stations here in town, WOZZ, and he hosts the Scary Terry's Saturday Nightmare, which is heavy metal and some really interesting music. He finds some interesting covers from other bands, and it's a great 3-hour show that he does. And he's a copywriter too, and the man has more creativity than I could ever hope to achieve in my lifetime, just writing all the ads he needs to write day after day. But his outlet is to play Magic the Gathering, and he has 2 kids, and he plays Magic the Gathering with them as well. So Um, why is it number 5 though? Do you have any thoughts behind that? Why that would be higher up on the list, Glenn?
I think Magic in general, I mean, has such a large following. And I think that's part of what probably drove that one a bit is the fact that Night of the Gathering has a huge following. It's as much as a lot of retailers say, "Oh, that bubble's going to pop." The bubble keeps growing. It keeps going, keeps going, and keeps going. And I don't think it's going to pop. I think eventually it will deflate a little bit, but it doesn't have signs of really slowing down right now.
It seems to, and based on what Terry had talked about, he had mentioned that it deflates slightly depending on how well the storylines are done, if they've done any odd rules adjustments or anything like that. So it cycles, and everything cycles really when you look at it. But yeah, no, and I had Terry in my studio here at the Nerdatorium studio, and I don't have a whole lot of guests in my studio, at least at this point. We seem to be doing more and more through Google Hangout. So that was kind of a fun, rare occurrence of having somebody in my studio. So, all right, now we're going to look at number 4. And that's a more recent episode that we did with Chris Tregenza of 66 RPG. And at the time that we did this particular show, he was, it was the age of, I should have prepared this a little bit better, the Age of Heroes.
Oh, yeah, the Greek.
Yes, it's the kind of Greek themed. It's at the point in time where the Greek Empire is on the decline, and the gods are picking mortal champions to help defeat the Titans who are waking up. And Chris had mentioned that the two gentlemen that had the idea and worked it and ran it through the R66 system as a supplement's the wrong word, as a setting for that's what I wanted to say. The 66, if you guys remember, is a blank slate kind of, only a rules system. It is a rules system only. So you can lay on top whatever you want to, whether that's a genre of superheroes or fantasy or sci-fi, whatever. And this add-on, this setting, gives you the option to play in to be an ancient Greek hero, essentially. And the art style within the book was done in that of, if you look at some of the artwork on vases and things like that, and that kind of a black ink style with gold outlines and things like that, and just so beautifully crafted and well thought out the way they put that together. And I'm really happy that that's our number 4. 66. Chris is out of the UK. That was kind of interesting. Didn't want to have him stay up too late because they're 6 hours ahead of us.
Yeah.
So that poor guy. I'm glad that he was able to talk with us. And Age of Legends, not Age of Heroes. I'm sorry. The Age of Legends, and it was also a Kickstarter, which is one of the reasons why, excuse me, he wanted to be on the show at that time, because they still had, I believe, a couple of weeks left to go. And good news, they did hit their goal of what they wanted to gather to put this out, and they hit a lot of their stretch goals too, which means bonus content, bonus artwork, and even more situations and monsters that they got to put in the book. So, which is amazing. I'm really glad for Chris and the folks at 66 that they were able to be so successful. Number 3 was our visit with Kenneth Haidt, and he was in the process. He had just released the Dracula dossier, and that was through. That's for Knight's Black Agents.
Yes. I have it somewhere. I picked it up.
From Pelgrane Press. And and from what I remember of the Dracula dossier, essentially what Bram Stoker wrote was true. And the Dracula dossier is all of the different stories and things about Dracula, all the times that Dracula was awoken to be used as a pawn to deal with the Nazis or to deal with whomever, and it never goes well. But it's done as kind of the Knight's Black Agents is a spy thriller. It's a supernatural spy setting, and that's right up Kenneth Haidt's alley because he's a Cthulhu scholar. I mean, he knows his Cthulhu inside and out. And we even mentioned in the show that he had done some writing and had somebody else do the artwork for Cthulhu-based children's books, essentially, which are spoofs or parodies of like Clifford the Big Red Dog and Polar Express and things like that. And he had changed the wording so it was similar to what you would find in those original children's books, but still giving it that Cthulhu mythos spin to it. So, and Kenneth is he was a really great guest and was really fun to talk to. And my son requires my attention to fix a DVD. Yep, hang on, bud. Yep. You have very sticky fingers, my friend. There you go. Can you close the door, pal? Okay, thank you. Ah, yes, the joys of being a parent. Anyways, back to the show. So yes, it was very, very wonderful to speak to Kenneth, and he has done so much for the gaming community. He's worked with a number of different companies, and he's done so much, and that's one of the reasons why I think he's at number 3, because he's a big deal. And I was really, really grateful that we got a chance to speak to Kenneth, and that he was even interested to come on our little show. Number 2, which is wonderfully surprising, and oddly enough is number 2 on the podcast side, on the audio version. He is also number 2, and that's my boss, Andy Gilley, talking about digital RPGs. And yeah, Andy knows and has played digital RPGs almost since it first became a thing. And he had a great deal of knowledge, and he could have gone on for a lot longer than he did talking about the history of digital RPGs and all the games that he's managed to play over the years, and was a really good resource on that. And he brought in his traveling library of games to the studio. That was one of the other episodes that took place with a guest in my studio here. So that was a fun discussion. It always kind of interesting when you have he's my boss in real life. So that was kind of interesting to have him in the studio talking about stuff like that. And quite honestly, we have daily quote unquote meetings before the day starts, and we talk about all manner of stuff for about 10-20 minutes just to kind of warm up for the day, and then we move on. But we've talked a bit about gaming, so it was kind of cool to have that extended conversation in front of the microphone and sharing his knowledge on said subjects. Now, the number one YouTube video that we had was episode number 7, which is Patrick Rothfuss and talking about world building. It's also one of the most commented on YouTube videos that we have as well. A lot of people interested in becoming writers. Some people asking or demanding, where's the next book? That always makes me a little sad. And I'm glad that Pat's got a thick skin, but were he not a polite individual, he'd tell you to fuck yourself, frankly. He's not your monkey, and he's working on it. So, anyways, but Pat's a very delightful individual and a wonderful storyteller. I'm not talking in written form. I mean, just the man can talk about going to the grocery store and make it fascinating. It's a true gift that he has, and it was very nice of him to take time out of his very busy schedule to chit chat with us and talk to us about. I think my favorite question that we got to ask him is what system he would use if he were to do a Kvoth or King Killer's Chronicles RPG. And his answer was
Mist Runner. I don't. I forget. Was it Hero System or
Hero was his second choice.
Okay.
His first choice was the Fate system.
That's right, Fate. Yep.
Because he is
one of those newer highfalutin.
Yeah. Well, he's friends with Jim Butcher, who writes the Dresden Files and other stuff too. But he was very delighted with how hands-off Jim Butcher was with the Dresden Files game, but how wonderful and how true. I mean, the people that came up with that system for Dresden, and now this has become a Dresden Files podcast, I apologize. But the amount of love that the people that put that together in using the Fate system, there was so much. I mean, looking in the margins of the books, and I have the player's guide and the storyteller's book, and written in the margins on the side, it looks like these are a collection of sheets of paper that this is all written on, all these stats, and it kind of goes with the thought process of Harry Dresden actually does get to game with a group of folks who happen to be werewolves. And they created a game system in the books based on what they knew of the supernatural world, but they had to keep some things out of it. And the game is an extension of it. It's like taking that little snippet that they just he mentions briefly in the book and expands on it. And it's beautifully expanded upon. And in the margins of the book will be like little notes that Harry Dresden writes about, well, you shouldn't mention that because that'll get you in trouble, and don't make this public because somebody will get killed over it, or little bits and pieces. And it's just wonderfully, it rides that line between, it's metafiction. I guess that's the only way you can really describe it. It's fiction within the fiction that it's based off of, and it's just absolutely lovely. And that's the system that Pat would use, is Fate, which just like the 66 system, the Fate system on its own is just a rules system. And you can layer whatever you want to on top of it. And the game system is designed to be very narrative based. So it is very much about storytelling, and a lot of it is left open to interpretation, and a lot of it is dice rolls are for clarification and or clarification is the wrong word. How well you succeed, and then on top of that is you making a case for, I wrote down that my character does this, and this is how, using this skill or ability, and laying it out and talking about it and promoting that role playing and having that discussion. And then the game master makes that determination, and it's very narrative based, and that's very much what Pat wanted to do with the game. So sorry, that was very long and drawn out, but it was just something that, well, it's number one. That's why it's long and drawn out. Screw you. So now let's get to the audio versions. Are you, well, before we do, are you surprised or not surprised by these top 5 YouTubes?
I don't think so. Well, I mean, the one with Chris surprised me a bit just because of how recently we did that one.
Yeah.
So not saying it like it was a bad podcast or a bad conversation. I thought, well, that should be a lot worse. I'm just surprised how quickly that one.
Yeah. No. And that's nothing against Chris or the product whatsoever, because Chris was an amazing guest. And 66 system from what I've looked at, because I ended up buying the system. He offered a demo, a copy for free, and I'm like, no, I like what you've done, so here's my money. That was very important for me to do, to support what Chris is doing. Yeah, and that was episode 32, and we're on 35. So yeah, it shot up there pretty quickly, and I'm very glad that it did. Very glad that it did.
Yeah, I just assumed by that time people would be too bored with us.
Fair enough. I'm just jumping in here to take a look at the numbers here. There we go. And pulling this up. And this is making for great listening right now. Darn it. I need to. Oh, not watch time. Ah, crap. I had this up before, and then I closed the window, and crap. I apologize for the delay here. Oh my God. There we go. Okay. There, by views. There. Okay. And Kenneth and Chris. There we go. Yeah. Patrick, by nature of how high profile he is, a lot of views on that. It blows my mind. And
more than 10?
A couple more than 10. Chris and Terry were a very close 4th and 5th spot there. So Yeah, that was pretty awesome. And the nice thing about listening to the audio podcast versions, which we're getting to in a second, is that long pause that you had to suffer through, YouTube viewers, that goes away in editing. So, all right, we're going to talk about the actual audio podcast top 5, and we're going to start with number 5. And like I said at the beginning of the show, it's a little bit apples to oranges here because we are about 9 episodes behind on getting the audio out. I have been pretty much doing an episode a day to catch up and get things back on an even keel now that my life is a little bit more stable and we've got a new routine down. But yeah, so we're catching up. Number 5 in the audio podcast is actually the Kenneth Haidt episode, which yeah, kind of surprises me. He's a big name, and the podcast he's in 5th place. In 4th place, and we've already talked about the Kenneth Haidt episode, so there's really not much more to say about it. In 4th place is the episode that we did called A Few of Our Favorite Things, and that's the episode where you and I talked about our favorite RPG board and card games.
Yeah.
And we had some good picks in there. And I know that the White Wolf setting for sure, now it escapes me. Hunters Hunted was on my top of the list. And looks like my internets can run just a little bit faster. There we go. It was episode 9 where we talked about our favorite things. Your favorite RPG was Star Frontiers?
Yep.
Favorite board game? Mine was Betrayal at House on the Hill. Yours was?
I don't know. I change it so often.
Yeah, you did. You mentioned a few.
I probably mentioned like 11.
Yeah. Well, I think you restrained yourself a little bit. Yggdrasil.
Oh, yes.
Was your favorite.
Not anymore.
What has overtaken your favorite spot now?
Right now, I'd probably say Mysterium.
Okay. All right.
I'm sure that'll change soon, too.
And our favorite card games, mine was Give Me the Brain by Cheap Ass Games, but it was the kind of the premium edition with printed cards. And for you, it was Abyss.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Old Maid, but yeah, Abyss sounds more like me.
Yeah, a little bit more in the vein of what we do. So we got that going for us. Number 3, oddly enough, is the Patrick Rothfuss world building, which that kind of surprised me a bit. Number 2 was the Andy Gilly, a digital RPG episode. And number 1 is our first episode, which we introduced you and we talked about creating and publishing games. Well, you're just a fascinating dude, which is part of it. But the other thing too is I think a lot of people are interested in creating what it takes to create a game, what it takes to get a game published, and you have very unique insight to that because you created Mist Runner. And you're in the finishing stages of Apocalypse How, aren't you?
Sure.
You're still doing the testing. Okay.
It's just if I was successful, like a really successful game designer, I'd be in the position Pat's in with his next book, where it's the don't ask me about it anymore. But I'm not, so You can keep asking me, because that means I might actually get off my butt and do it. Whereas,
there's a
Pat's
difference.
being a perfectionist, I'm being a procrastinist.
Hey, maybe there's a bit of that, but the other thing too is writing is Pat's everyday job. You work retail. You've got things going on, so it's hard to juggle everything and get a game polished to a point where it can be released. So, give yourself a little bit of a break and some credit there, I think, Glenn. You're rolling that boulder up the hill, and you're doing the best you can. So, and I gotta say, from what I got to play, and I haven't played it lately, so I'm sure you've definitely polished it a lot more since then. It was a lot of fun. So I look forward to being able to talk about the finished version, and we will dedicate an episode to that once it's completed. So.
All right.
Whenever that may be.
Still doing this in 2074. Awesome.
Dude, if I'm still alive in 2074, no, I'd be 104 years old.
Ghost in the Shell, baby. Ghost in the Shell.
Oh man.
Longest running podcast in the world. And you'd be forced to us because we would take over your computers every week.
Oh, wow.
God, these assholes again.
On that note, we're going to talk about Hello, My Name Is. And, now that my computer is back and fully operational, I got the 3 certificates that I needed to catch up on, and got our winner of the drawing that we did with Roland Kuhn's artwork for the winner, and got those designs of his character to him. So we're caught up there. But what is Hello, My Name Is? It's an opportunity for you to tell us about your favorite character that you are currently playing or have played in the past. And you can go to gncasts.com and click on the Adventure Party page under the blog tab. And on that page, you will find the link to Hello, My Name Is. And there's a short form for you to fill out, which is just basic information. Yes, I do ask for your email address. No, I'm not going to spam you or put you on a list. I just need it so I can send you back a certificate of appreciation for you taking the time and highlighting your character within the certificate. If you go to the Facebook group, make sure it's the group for Galactic Netcasts, you'll find in the photo section what those certificates look like. And those are the lower resolution versions that I put on the website. You would actually get a printable PDF that you can frame and hang up on the wall or throw darts at, whatever. I just send it to you as a thank you, essentially, for taking the time to fill that out and connecting with us and giving us an opportunity to talk about your character, the game system that character comes from, and maybe reminisce about some similar situations that Glenn and I may have run into in some of our games, and just basically promoting talk about different games. And that's what it's all about. So you can find Adventure Party by going to gncasts.com, like I said before, and you can also find all of our social media outlets and our YouTube channel, where you can see the video version of the Adventure Party as we record it. And you can find that at youtube.com/galacticnetcasts. If you're using iTunes or Stitcher, could you take a moment to give us a review and let us know what you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down for Stitcher, 1 to 5 star ratings from iTunes, and whatever rating you give us, especially on iTunes, if you can leave a comment and let us know specifically what you liked, what you didn't like. Your review, positive or negative, can help us make a better show, and that's what we want to do. And this is brand new, Glenn. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
You can leave us feedback by emailing our new email address. You got this? adventure@gncasts.com. Yeah, no more do you have to go through our old address and then playing telephone, Dave Nelson, who is our fearless leader of the Galactic Netcast network, and he would have to forward that on. Now you can contact, that goes right to my email box, email inbox. Who says that? I sound like my granddad. Adventure@gncasts.com. You can call or text us at 805-328-3966. Again, 805-328-3966, and you can leave us a message or a voice or a text message. You can also contact us by going to gncasts.com, and in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see a link for send us a message, and if you have a microphone attached to your computer, you can leave us a direct voice message. It's converted right to an MP3 and sent to us in an email, and we can talk about it in the show. So, Glenn, thank you for once again joining us on this grand adventure we call the Adventure Party, and sticking through it here through 2015, and hopefully staying on with us through 2016. Where can people find out more about you or about Mistrunner?
You can find out more about me in the glorious World Wide Web. Go to Facebook, find the Beam We Bunker, or Naked Hobo Productions, or Mistrunner the RPG. Find me on the YouTube at Beam We Bunker and Naked Hobo Productions, or on Twitter at Naked Hobo.
Naked Hobo. Never get tired of that. Thank you for joining us on the Adventure Party here. May your characters never die and your adventures always be epic. Thank you and good night.